Welcome to the 2024 year in review. I'm breaking down the projects that I knit and crocheted this year, as well as reviewing my goals. Hey everyone, my name is Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. I have been reviewing my knitting and crochet for the last 6 years, which is wild, and you can find the links to all of those videos down below. I love looking back on my projects over the course of the year because I feel like it really tells a story about not only what I was making, but what was going on during that year. So here's what makes 2024 a little bit different. We spent most of the last year on the road, living and traveling in our van with our dog Toaster. We visited 36 states and 107 yarn stores. So here's what's gonna happen in the video. I'm gonna do a quick stats breakdown, and then we're gonna dive deeper into each and every one of my projects. Then I will be reviewing my goal for 2024, which was to create an intentional wardrobe, but I am saving my 2025 goals for another video because see this and this and this. I have to get all of this organized before I can even think about setting goals for the new year. I keep track of all of my projects in Ravelry, which made this really easy to do. So if you want to do this yourself, you can go to your Ravelry project page, go to the filter by year completed, and check off 2024. I've also created a template for Instagram stories if you want to share your 2024 review on Instagram. Let's dive into the numbers. I've got my computer in front of me for this one. So let's just look at the overall stats first. I completed in 2024 30 projects. Feel pretty good about that. 28 of those were knitted and only 2 of them were crocheted. This is actually really comparable to 2023, where I completed 33 projects overall, 28 knitted, and 5 crocheted projects. Just looking at the numbers first off, I feel really proud of this considering what we were doing this year. I feel like I got a lot of things finished. Also, a lot of those projects were larger items like garments. My poor neglected crochet. Now, since I'm only looking at finished items, this doesn't take into account my beautiful crocheted hexie blanket, which I've been working on for most of the year. I'm not going to be talking about whips in this video, but this project has been so special and it's been commemorative of all the travels that we've been doing. I've been collecting yarn from all of the yarn stores since we started traveling in August of 2023. This project is going to be coming back in the new year, and I can't wait to finish it up. Okay, let's break it down by category. So for socks, I made 9 pairs of socks this year, 9 cozies of different varieties, 1 blanket, 4 hats, 5 garments, and 2 neckwear items. Again, this is super comparable to 2023, which I find interesting. It looks like I'm making a lot of the same things. I also like to look at themes throughout the year. So what I was able to notice is that in the first 6 months of the year, I was only making small projects. I made a lot of socks then, I made a lot of yarn cozies, and I think there are 2 reasons for that. One, we were extremely active, both in like travel and what we were physically doing. We were moving at a super fast pace for the first 6 months of the year. We went to 74 yarn stores out of that 100 and something that I shared. We also slept in the same number of beds, so 74 different places that we were parking our van and sleeping, and we visited 13 states. So the pace was really fast at the beginning of the year. The other thing we were doing is a lot of hiking. We were out west, we were in colder climates, we were hiking mountains and all of these things, and I would bring my knitting along with me. So I did a lot of smaller projects that would fit easily into my little waistband chalk bag that I got, and I could knit while we were on the trail. The other theme that I noticed, and this is actually just with my project pages in general, is I have very few finished project photos. Most of my It's actually really bad looking at it. Like most of my photos are like half finished objects or sometimes just the yarn or just the cast on. At least I have a photo on there for just about every project that I finish, but some of these never even, actually as we're gonna pull them out, you're gonna see some of these have never even been blocked or worn or used. Since we were traveling in the van, it was pretty difficult to block things. We're always limited on water and definitely limited on space to spread things out. I also only have one towel, which I use to dry myself. I'm not gonna use that for when I'm blocking things. So all of that just added up to a bunch of mostly finished items. And again, I'm gonna show you all of those today. So with that being said, let's go project by project and see everything that I made this year. Another theme that I'm trying to adapt this year is taking better care of myself. I've been trying to start each day with journaling, I've been working out more consistently, and I've been starting my day with AG1. AG1 is so much more than greens. It's a research-backed daily health drink that combines a multivitamin, probiotic, and blend of superfoods into one scoop. One scoop of AG1 per day supports my energy, digestive regularity, immune support, and a healthy mood. I personally like to have AG1 after my breakfast and coffee. It's a little reminder to me that I'm starting off my day taking care of myself. It's flavored with pineapple core and vanilla bean, which makes it sweet and tasty. It reminds me of cereal milk without the milk part. The best thing about AG1 is that no matter what the rest of my day looks like, I know AG1 has me covered. In one scoop, I'm getting the vitamins and minerals that help cover my nutritional gaps. And AG1 supports my immune system with a daily dose of antioxidants, probiotics, and functional mushrooms. You can go to drinkag1.com/nittynatty to subscribe and save $20 off your first subscription of AG1. Thanks so much to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. I've gathered up as many of my projects as I could find, which is almost all of them, which is pretty impressive, I feel like, considering what we have been doing this year. It took me about 45 minutes to find everything, but whatever. Anyway, we're gonna go through each and every item, but we're gonna stick to categories rather than going chronological. Let's start with socks. Out of the 9 socks that I made this year, 3 of them use my favorite Fish Lips Kiss heel, which is a short row heel. 3 of them use the Vanilla is the New Black heel, and 3 of them use the heel Flap and Gusset, which I am kind of returning to this year. An interesting theme. Okay, let's start. I'm gonna get comfy. I'm gonna pull up my legs here. Let's start with the beginning of the year. I made Kent his very first pair of socks. This colorway is really special because it is a Little Wolf Knits yarn that Kent and Brianna dyed together. It's called World Champs because the Texas Rangers won the World Series last year, and so Kent created this colorway to commemorate that. So it's got red and blue for the team, and then the gold yellow is for like the gold I think they got to wear around the numbers on their uniform. I guess we don't have to go through every single detail of all the socks, but I did a nice long ribbing. I did ribbing down the whole leg. And as you can see, they look pretty unworn, just a little bit worn. I'm not sure if Kent needs any more socks. He's told me in the past not to knit him anything, but then I wanted to make him something special out of this yarn. So he hasn't worn them very often, but maybe now that it's winter, he will wear them a bit more. Next up, I finished the Nitty Natty socks. These are also a special colorway. This is a colorway that I collaborated this year with Arkansas Yarn Company. So earlier this year, we visited them and we filmed a tour there in Arkansas. And I got to go into the dye studio with Lori and we came up with this beautiful color. It's inspired by a Plum Deluxe tea that Plum Deluxe, I love their tea. They did a special blend for Arkansas Yarn Company and it's delicious and it has like rose leaves in it. And so it was inspired by that. But this is the first Vanilla is the New Black pattern heel that I finished. It's not the first one I started, but I'd started another one and these were my second and I put ribbing into the heel already has ribbing into it, but I put ribbing into the leg and I really like how it looks. It's a little funky on the foot part because I just like stopped the ribbing after I finished the heel, I think. I have notes on my project page for most of these, but I just started wearing these and I'm liking them a lot. Okay, then I finished my Greatest Yarny Adventure socks, and these are also a special colorway. I did a lot of special colorways this year, which is really exciting. So this one is from Woolen Women Fibers. They made a whole kit for me called the Greatest Yarny Adventure, inspired by my travels, and it had like a beautiful bag with trees on it because we did a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of national parks, and this colorway is just stunning. So I also did a Vanilla is the New Black heel, my second one. I put some fun little stripies in there. Those are inspired by a Summer Lee pattern. Anyway, these came out great and I'm really happy to find them. I can't tell if they're blocked or not, but I will probably start wearing those very soon. Okay, now we're on to my very first, I think this was my first pair of Vanilla is the New Black socks. Look, there's still an end. There's still stitch markers in the foot because I found these like this in my pile of stuff. Anyhow, this is a fun colorway from Desert Vista Dye Works. It's inspired by the Sarah J. Maas series. My gosh, what is it called? A Court of Thorns and Roses. Oh my goodness, how could I forget that? So I read A Court of Thorns and Roses last year in 2023, and this year I read her other two series. I'm in the middle of Throne of Glass. I'm reading Assassin's Blade, so don't spoil anything for me. It's so, so good. But I had just finished A Court of Thorns and Roses. No, I had one book left in A Court of Thorns and Roses when I ordered this yarn at the end of last year, and then I started these socks when I started the final book of A Court in Thorns and Roses. So that was really fun for me to like kind of work on these while I was reading the final book. Also, my first and third to finish of Vanilla is the New Black. Haven't worn these yet, but maybe will soon. Okay, I think now we are into Sock Week socks. So I had 5 Sock Week sponsors this year, so I have not knit with all of their yarn, but I did get to 3 of them. So the first one that I did is from Knit Circus, and they do these really cool gradients. So it came with 2, I think 30-gram cakes. So I knew I wasn't going to need, they also do 50-gram cakes, but I knew if I did that, I'd have really, really tall socks. So I feel like I started these toe up. That makes sense. I did them toe up. They suggest doing that when you start, because that way you know when you're ending your gradient and you don't have to like keep going and making a foot longer. You can keep going and making a leg longer. These also have markers still in them. I clearly haven't worn them yet, and they do look a bit goofy, not on a sock blocker, but I did ribbing because I knew this was going to be a really tall sock, and I kept trying them on as I went, and they are going to fit just beautifully. So I was able to use up my yarn almost to the very end. I know I cut off a little bit of the darker purple, but they just came out super great, and these ones have a Fish Lips Kiss heel. The second Sock Week socks that I finished are Shell Yeah by Leah Gibson. This was one of our special Sock Week patterns this year. Cute little shorty sock designed to go with a sock set. And I used our Wool and Works color. This was a dyer out of Australia. She's so awesome. I got to meet her at Flock this year too, which was a nice surprise. And just look how fun these came out. So I used almost all of my 20-gram mini, which was this like coral, bright coral color. So I still have a ton of this color left. So I might be able to make something else this year. I also could put it into my blanket, which I might do. We'll see. It's not technically a yarn I got on our travels, but it's still a special part of, my whole year. And one of the reasons why I even started a relationship with Wool and Works is because I got their yarn when I was traveling to California. So I don't know, it just feels like it could be part of it. But I love these, and these came out great. Then my last Sock Week socks that I finished are the Adventurer Boot socks. These are designed by Maggie Fangman and dyed up by her. Her company is called Yarnaceous Fibers, and this color is inspired by the Petrified Forest National Park, which is one that we visited, which is so cool. So it's got all these little color work things that are kind of representative of the different rock formations. Obviously, these are not done or blocked. I have some ends weaving in to do and all of that. So these all got finished by August, this pile of socks here. And then I've only made 2 other socks for the last bit of the year, basically the last half of the year. So These I finished first. These are the Winter Magic socks, and this is a pattern that I designed. I collaborated with Coven Collective to create this colorway, and then they did kits for us, and they're amazing and spectacular. So these are really fun. They combine color work and beading with lots of fun texture. And I finished these a little bit before the end of October, I think, whenever the colorway was coming out. I can't quite remember. So I love, love, love how these came out, and I have worn them quite a bit already. They're already starting to wear in the heels here a little bit. Now, the last pair of socks that I made this year were my Halloween socks. I started them like middle of October and didn't finish them until almost the end of November. And I gifted them to my mother-in-law for her birthday in December when we were visiting her. So I will have to put a picture in here for those. That was a large category. So how about we get into something a little bit smaller and do garments? Hey! Okay, this is the Sporty Shrug by Jacqueline Sayaslak. So as I mentioned before, I did a lot of small projects in the beginning of the year. This is the first garment I finished for the year, and it was June 15th that I finished this. So later half of the year is a lot more large project heavy. I feel like my brain was ready for that then. It just made a whole lot more sense. So this garment I made to be very functional and wear for hiking. So you can see I've got a tank top on. Actually, I don't know if you can see. I'm wearing a tank top, like an athletic tank top. And then this just kind of goes over the top. It's really, really short. It's got cool little thumb holes. I haven't woven in these ends yet because I wanted to see if I wanted to shorten the sleeve at all. It's got really skin tight fit feeling because it's made to be sporty. So unfortunately, this did not go on any hikes with me this year. Once I finished it, it had already warmed up a lot. Obviously, it was June. And then we honestly stopped doing a lot of outdoor stuff. The later half of the year we spent in the Northeast, and there just aren't as many mountains and places to hike, or rather there are not as many national parks, I guess I should say, that have the kind of elevation that makes it cold outside in the summer. That's a little bit more accurate. So this hasn't seen any action yet, but I know that once I get back out and get back hiking that I'm going to use it a lot. The other significant thing about this sweater is that it is my first non-superwash yarn for a garment that I just really, really enjoyed. So I got this yarn at Ritual Dyes when we were in Portland for the yarn crawl in March. It is a 2-ply non-superwash rambouillet, and it taught me that I really, really like rambouillet. So this kind of set into motion an inspiration for some of the other garments that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. And I learned how much of a delight it is to knit with non-superwash and to wear it too. Next up is the Twisted T-shirt. This is a pattern by Brianna Lapino, aka the Little Wolf Knits. The yarn I used is Ruby and Roses, and it was a really fun project to do because the pattern itself is meant to be 2 colors. So this contrast ribbing with like a solid or speckled yarn for the main color. I ended up taking I think it was 8 mini skeins from Ruby and Roses, and I did 2 like tiny, tiny little 2-row stripes, and it just came out so, so good. It was so fun to make. This project is kind of special as well because I started it just before I went on a trip with Brianna, the designer of the pattern, and I worked on it. It was like my vacation project when we went to Antigua this year. I just have wonderful memories of working on this project, sitting on a chair like by the pool, having a pina colada, working on this. I think I did most of the yoke while we were there. Yoke? Most of the yoke while we were there. Anyway, it's become just a staple piece for me, and I wear it all of the time. I then finished my Traveler hoodie by Andrea Mowry. I'm gonna save talking about this until our next segment where I talk about my goals from 2024. Rest assured, this is one of my favorite things that I made this year, from the yarn to the pattern to the functionality. I mean, it is a hoodie that actually has a hood that you can wear, that I have worn, that has kept me warm or kept wind off of my neck and ears. It is seriously one of my favorite things that I have ever made. The fourth garment I made is the color tip tea. I really like this pattern. It's so cute. So I picked this out because in my day-to-day life, I wear the same t-shirt almost all the time. I have the same t-shirt style from the same brand in 4 different colors, and it looks a lot like this. It's not quite as cute because it's only one color, but it's got a little front pocket just like this one. So I figured, why not make myself a knitted version of something that I already love? And when I found the perfect yarn at Farmer's Daughter Fibers, I knew that I needed to put together some colors that I really, really like. So I'm really happy with this, how this came out. I'm still debating making it a little bit longer. It's gonna be hard to tell with me just like standing up here. I have a little bit of yarn left over, so I should be able to make it longer later on if I choose to do so. This is another non-superwash yarn. The base is Sukapi, and it is a single ply non-superwash. I think it has Rambouillet and something else, another blend of wool in it, but it was a delight to knit with, and it's been wonderful to wear. And my grand finale garment is the Salty Days sweater. Oh, this one was so much fun to knit, and it's going to be so much fun to wear once I fix the sleeves that are way too long. Not the designer's fault, my fault. Anyway, I'm also going to be talking about this one in our next segment, so that's all I'm going to say for now. My floor right now looks like when I was in college and I tried on like 40 outfits before I went out for an evening. There is just knitwear everywhere. I'm going to keep a t-shirt on for the rest of the video because I am getting really warm doing all of my quick changes, and that's perfect because we're going to be talking about hats next. Just like 2023, I made a bunch of Musselburgh hats by Isolde Teague, and I made them in different ways. So the first one that I made is this one out of a sport weight alpaca. I did a ribbed brim with stockinette on one side and all stockinette on the other side. This is actually part of a set that I'm going to talk about later, so more on that in just a bit. The next one that I finished is not a Musselburgh, the only one that's not a Musselburgh. This is the Manhattan hat by Tori Yu. It is so darn cute. This was a single skein of DK weight yarn. Let me see, am I getting it on right? It always takes me a few tries to kind of get the poof on the top that I want. But this was a single skein of DK weight yarn that I just adored the color, and I wanted to find a hat pattern that would show it off. What I like about this hat is even though it's DK weight, it's only one layer aside from the brim. So it's almost like my lightweight hat, whereas this Musselburgh hat is extremely warm with it being double layered and then 4 layers on the ear, which I need sometimes, but sometimes I just need something that's not as hot. So this has actually been very functional, and when I'm in the mood for something a little brighter and a little more fun, I put this one on. After that, I took a little hat break for a good part of the year, and then I made Kent another Musselburgh hat right before Rhinebeck. So last year, my friends Amy, Brianna, and I all got this colorway. Actually, Brianna got it first, and then Amy and I copied her, but we all made these for our husbands, and they all wore them at Rhinebeck, and they were matching. And then somebody called them the Muscle Bros, which was really cute. Thank you, Joe, for that name. And I don't know, it just turned out really great. The great thing about Kent is he does not want anything to fold up. He does not want any slouch. So his Musselburgh hats actually go really, really fast, and they're easy to make. Now, my last one is also a Musselburgh hat. It has not been blocked yet, but this has to be the most special Musselburgh hat of them all because this is my Alaska Kivute and Yak Musselburgh hat. This is the most expensive hat I will probably ever make, but it's so special because we traveled to Alaska this year and I really wanted to get some yarn that's representative of that area and that region. So I got yarn that is Kivute, which is a musk ox, and it is from that region, and it is also hand dyed there by the store owner where we got it from. And then I got this yarn at another yarn store in Alaska near Denali National Park, and it is a blend of yak and merino, I think, and they just go together super, super nicely. This has a lot of the same pink tones that this has. It's just not, I don't have the greatest lighting. I might need to open up the shades on this window over here. And oh, it just turned out so beautiful. So I use the Kivute for the lining. So this is going to be one of the warmest hats ever. I haven't actually tried it on in a while, so let me kind of work back and forth here to get things all lined up. So you can see, yeah, this is the lining, and then this is gonna be the part that folds up. I wanted it to fold up and still have a little bit of this hardier yarn. Actually, I can't even say that. Muskox is very, very hardy. It's very warm, very extremely soft, and very functional, but I didn't want it to go all the way to like the fold. So I kind of did it that way. I think I have the proportions on my Ravelry page. That needs to get out of the way. So I designed it with a little bit of slouch like I like and a fold up brim. I just need to block this guy and then it's gonna be ready to wear this winter. This is a quick one because I only have one blanket, and that is Kent's Beetlejuice blanket. This is the Crochet Advent Baby Blanket by Lucy and Crochet. It's the third one that I've made, but it's the first one that I put a border on. It's very subtle. Right here, I did like 5 rounds of single crochet, keeping with the chevron pattern on the top and bottom, and just going for a straight edge on the side. She has actually come out with another version of this blanket that is straightened out and has a border. And so I'm kind of thinking that for some of my advents that I still have to work up, I might work that new version of the pattern next. But I just love these. Kent now has one, as well as I have one, and Toaster has one too. I've got 2 neckwear pieces that I made this year. The first one actually is this one. The first one is the Rhinebeck Doodle Cowl. This is by Jamie Lomax, also known as Pacific Knit Co. In January of this year, we did a doodle make-along in the Love and Stitches membership. So for a lot of us, it was the first time doing color work, which was really, really fun. This was my first time doing a doodle, and I have to say I love it. I used one of the doodle decks. I pulled out like the different designs that I enjoyed and thought would make the length of the cowl that I wanted, and then every time I was ready for a new chart, I would draw one and just let it decide for me. I used a pack from Fangirl Fibers to make it that I got at Rhinebeck the year previously. So all in all, it was just a really fun project, and I brought it to Rhinebeck this year to wear. The other one that I made is a much longer cowl. It's a wraparound scarf. I can wrap it around either twice or 3 times if I want it really bundled up. This is the same yarn that you saw in my alpaca musselburrow hat. Again, I'm going to talk about these more later, but this is the Traveler's Loop by Dawn Barker. It's the second one that I've ever made, and I love it so much. The last category we have here is cozies, and I'm not going to show you every single one that I made, but just a sampling of, honestly, the ones that I could find. So the Yarn Cozy Light is the original one of this whole series that I designed. This is the knit one that's designed to fit a 100-gram cake of fingering or DK weight yarn. I did it out of my Greatest Yarny Adventure yarn because I figured I'd want another commemorative way to remember this yarn, remember this trip. I have the socks. I'm going to add a hexie into my blanket, and now I have a cozy. I also did a couple of crochet versions of the Yarn Cozy Light in stripes. I had some mini skein sets, and I did those and donated them to people who contributed to my Knit for Food campaign that I participated in. Laura Nelkin runs it. It's really awesome. We'll do it again in March, or she will do it again in March. I will participate again. So those are gifted in a way. So here's a picture to see that. I made Kent a can cozy. So I should have brought a can in here, but I was too lazy to do that. Just imagine a can of soda or a can of beer, whatever you're drinking out of a can. It goes around that, and it functions out also as a coaster because it cups the bottom, which is really, really nice, and it keeps your hands from getting cold, which I appreciate. So I wanted him to have another thing to remember this awesome colorway by, other than just the socks, which I figured he probably wasn't going to use that much. The last cozy that I made is I made a couple of these e-reader cozies. They are by Leslie of Knit California. I gave one to my mom, and I made one for myself. So I put my Kindle inside it. It fits perfectly. It keeps my screen from getting scratched. Of course, it's not a hard case, so like when I travel, I do protect this more. But at least when I'm at home and just like shoving this in and out of drawers, or when I was in the van, I had a little cubby that this went into. It was perfect for that, and then I got to enjoy this beautiful yarn every day. Okay, that was certainly a lot. How about we get into my goals for 2024, and we'll close out the video after this. I just had one major goal in 2024, and that was to add items to my hand knitted wardrobe. I called it an intentional handmade wardrobe, and I did a whole video of this where I planned things out back in February of this year because I really wanted to think about what items do I actually need and wear in my wardrobe that are missing or that I could replace with handmade items. So using that as my like starting point rather than just looking at patterns that I thought I might want to make. Here are the things that started out on my list when I started to plan in February: a comfy sweatshirt, a basic cardigan, t-shirt style tops, a Christmas pullover, matching winter accessories, and a textured layer pullover. I picked out the ones that were most important to me, so I ended up crossing two things off the list, and then I picked one thing per quarter, so every 3 months, to work on because I just wanted to be realistic with us traveling this year. Having this plan really worked for me because it gave me a lot of flexibility within some structure, right? So I had 3 months to get something done, but I had all this time to like figure it out and like work through things. I don't know, it worked really great. I think in the past, I would have been like, okay, I'm gonna do one thing per month. I can do like 12 items for my wardrobe this year. And that just isn't realistic, I think, for most people in most years, but especially for this year. So let's start with the first thing that I did. I wanted to start with my matching winter accessories in the first quarter of the year. And that's how I ended up with this lovely set. All of these items are from American Made Alpaca, and I got the yarn and the gloves at Rhinebeck in 2023. So the gloves were the first thing that I bought. These were machine knit, and I thought, hey, this is perfect because I don't really want to make gloves anyway, so that is all done. I next made the hat. I started it on January 26th and I finished it on February 14th. I had a couple of struggles, and actually you can still see this. See how the rib is still wanting to flip through if I wear it this way? So I've just started wearing it with the rib side up. I still don't know how I can really fix that without adding a purl turning ridge in there, which I really don't want to do. And then I made the traveler's loop. I just love this so much. I started this one right after I finished the hat. So from February 18th to March 18th. And then boom, I had checked off one intentional wardrobe item in the first quarter of the year. I seriously wear these three things all of the time, sometimes all together, sometimes just a couple of them. Like I wore the hat and gloves this morning when I was taking Toaster on a walk, but they have functioned so well for me. And I really love having a matching set, so much so that I think I might make another one in the future. I mean, right now, I really only need one. It's not like I need so many matching sets because I live in such a cold place, but maybe in the future I'll do another one and maybe it will be pink. For the second quarter, I decided I would focus on t-shirts, and that's when I made my twisted t-shirt. Let's see, I started a little bit late on this one. So I didn't start until June 14th, but I finished it by July 7th. So that was like 3 weeks of knitting. And then I started the Traveler after that, but I wanted to make another t-shirt. So I did this a little bit later in the year. I think second quarter is when I did my color tip tee. I definitely want to make more t-shirts because I am finding them replacing, you know, items like this in my wardrobe. So I'd love to do more of that. And what's so great about a t-shirt is it doesn't take as much time or as much yarn as a long sleeve sweater. So I can usually get away with 2 to 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn in a short sleeve sweater. And that is really great for using up stash. In the third quarter of the year, I planned to make my sweatshirt. I figured this was a great time because I could have it finished before things got really, really cold. Now, I was originally thinking about making the Second Avenue sweatshirt by Brianna Lapino. It's a crew neck, it has a boucle yarn, it looks really comfy and cozy, but I decided against that. I figured that was not going to be as functional in my everyday wardrobe as the hoodie that I picked. But I did end up getting yarn for it a couple, like just last month, so I am totally gonna still be making one. I saw this traveler hoodie in so many stores when we were in Portland and when we were in California in March, and I saw it like on a mannequin, and it just looked so good in all of the colors, in all of the yarns, that I just felt like I had to make it. So when we went to Wyoming and we went to Mountain Meadow Yarn and their mill, and I saw this yarn, I just knew it was meant to be. So this yarn is their, I think they call it Mountain Merino, but it's a blend of Rambouillet and other wools. It is bouncy and squishy. It's a 2-ply sport weight, and it is the best. I have worn this every single day for like the past 3 months, and I knew that being on the road, I do not have access to washing clothes as often as I would like, and especially with a sweatshirt or something that you're wearing almost every day, like my t-shirts, I can change out every few days or so. I intentionally bought wool t-shirts so that they would be fresher for longer, so I thought, why not do the same with my sweatshirt? Then I don't have to wash this as often either, and I mean, seriously, it lasts so long between washes. I've only washed this like one time since my initial block, which was just a few weeks ago. I washed it again just to keep it fresh and everything. So it's functioned just beautifully. Now this sweater has tried to get lost so many times. The first time was just after I finished it. We were in Hawaii and we were switching rental cars, and I left it in the back of a rental car, and we turned around and we went back and the car was already gone, but they found it for me. And then just several other times I've like misplaced it. I don't know why this wants to get lost, but please don't get lost. I love you. And for the final quarter of the year, I planned to make my Christmas sweater, which is my Salty Days sweater. Now, I started this on September 21st, and I wanted to finish it before December so I could actually wear it in the month of Christmas. Or, basically it's just a winter sweater I want to wear throughout the cold months if I went to a party or whatever. And so I picked something really fun and interesting to make, and I loved, loved, loved making this. So I found a non-superwash worsted weight yarn from the Little Fox in Virginia when we were at Fiberspace, and it is so delicious and so yummy. And then I paired that with a mohair silk, I mean exactly what the pattern says to do, and the Knitting for Olive yarn that the pattern recommends. So I didn't do anything wild or creative there, but I really am happy with the color and how this came out. I'm calling this finish, like that I finished it on November 30th, like just in time, but technically it's not finished because as you saw earlier, the sleeves are really, really long. When I did one of my like mid-project try-ons with this seemed really short, and so I added length to the sleeves. Then once it was all said and done and I had done several blocks on it, everything just kind of grew, and now the sleeves are definitely too long. So what I need to do is I need to take this back and take a few rows out of here and then re-knit basically this whole piece. I need to re-knit the lace and re-knit the cuff. That's probably going to be about, I don't know, 2 days of knitting each plus blocking it. So probably a whole week to get this guy finished, which I will be doing before the end of the year. We did it! That is the year in review for 2024. 2025 is really shaping up to be an exciting year. If you like yarn organization, project planning, and busting through your stash, you are going to love what I am going to be doing in 2025. I would love to know what your favorite thing is that you made in 2024, as well as what your goals were and if you met them, and maybe any goals going into 2025. You can download the 2024 year in review Instagram story template down below or take a screenshot of it. Be sure to share that on your Instagram and tag me so that I can see it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!